Thank you for joining me here today. If this is our first time meeting, my name is Jessica Johnson. I am a board certified family nurse practitioner, a certified diabetes care and education specialist, and a endocrinology clinician. And on this channel, I share practical insights or clinical insights and practical tips for helping you stay consistent with stewarding your body well. And the reason we're here today in my kitchen is actually for as a thank you. So, when we were close to hitting our 1,000 subscriber milestone, I put out a poll to you asking you what you wanted to see from this channel, and live meal prep won. So here we are, and we're in our kitchen, and that's what we're going to do today. I have put out some videos regarding my batch prep method that, from your comments, many of you said you enjoyed and you wanted to see more. Sorry about that. In particular, you wanted to see my process for how I do that. So that's what today's video is. I'm walking through my process for how I batch prep meals to help me stay consistent with my healthy nutrition, particularly on busy weeks. Okay, so um, just want to let you know this is not a video that's going to teach you how to eat or give you a personalized nutrition plan. I eat a specific way for specific reasons, but this video is not trying to teach you how to eat. I am not a registered dietitian, so if you are looking for a personalized nutrition plan, I encourage you to meet with your healthcare provider and a registered dietitian so that together you can come up with a personalized nutrition plan that works. Okay, and additionally, I am not a chef, so this live stream is not meant to teach you how to cook either. I'm not a chef, but what this video is, if you do obtain a personalized nutrition plan from your provider, from your registered dietitian, and you're looking for a method to help you stay consistent while you're on that plan, this video could help with that. You could utilize, if you find that you like this method, you can utilize this batch prep method to help you stay consistent with your individual meal plan. Okay, so I have some notes here to keep me on track, but so you'll be seeing me reach over from time to time. Now, this live stream should go for about 60 minutes or so, and I won't be able to answer questions immediately on the live stream as I will have my hands busy with the food. So if there's time at the end of this, I do plan to look through the comments to see if anything came up. Otherwise, I will answer your questions, any questions you have at the end after the video is done. I'll answer your comments or I'll answer your questions in the chat, or I may even create a whole video based on what I see in the comments. Okay, and before we get started, I would love to know, do you meal prep currently? Do you batch prep? Are you trying to get started with a meal prep plan? Let me know in the comments. Okay, and then just for some general housekeeping, like I mentioned, I won't be able to answer the questions in real time, but hopefully there's some time at the end and I can answer them. Okay, so here's what we're having today. Today I'm cooking some barbecue drumsticks, boiled eggs. We're gonna do ground turkey today, and we're doing green beans from frozen, baked broccoli. I have quinoa, some black beans, garbanzo beans, and my pantry items I always have on hand are nuts, so our pistachios, walnuts, almonds, and in the refrigerator I have our Greek yogurt and cottage cheese, as well as cheese sticks to keep us to help us with our snacks and other meals throughout the week. Now, some of these items I've prepared already, and some of them I'll be doing off camera. So, we'll also be having cabbage. So, as far as items that I've already done off camera, I have already boiled the eggs, and I'll tell you about that in just a moment. And off camera, I will be cooking the barbecue drumsticks and the cabbage. That's mostly because to barbecue, of course, I have to be going in and out of the house, and I don't want to be leaving you for moments with no one tending to the camera. So that'll be done off camera. And the cabbage I'll be cooking in my Instapot over here. And if you've ever used one of these things, once it's done and you have to depressure the system, it makes a really loud noise. So I figured you probably wouldn't want to hear that, but I'll be happy to talk to you through the process of how I do it. All right, so I've got my oven preheated, and we're about to get started in just a moment. Now, just before we get started, the big thing about batch prep is planning ahead of time. As you can see, there's a lot of things that are going to be going on all at once. So again, I wanted to share with you the ins and outs of this process so you can decide, okay, is this something I want to get into or not? All right, so planning ahead is a big one. What that typically looks like for me is my son and I will talk about our what we want to have to eat, and we typically will pick two meat options, two to three vegetables, one to two fruits, and then we always have our pantry items, our protein and fiber rich pantry items, which include for us usually our quinoa, the nuts that I just showed earlier, and our beans. We typically do beans from can versus whole beans. And then I make sure that our refrigerator is stocked with our dairy items, which include most often for us cottage cheese, Greek yogurt, and cheese wheels. Now, it's boring. We do typically the same thing almost every week. We do have some variety, especially incorporating like seasonal vegetables and fruits. But this really helps me to keep organized. It helps me to know what's in the house because I'm kind of constantly doing a mental inventory of what we have so that we can be ready for the meal prep days. Um, it also helps me reduce food waste because, again, I'm always knowing what we have in the house. I'm usually shopping for groceries with that grocery list, and the food is being prepared so that it's less risk, less chance of it going to waste. Okay, so that's what we're having. And the other thing, if you are considering this method, consider your kitchen setup, in particular your stove. So for me, for this stove here, it is a gas stove, but the way it's set up is it has four eyes. I know some stoves have more than that, but there's the two large eyes in the front and then a medium and a small eye in the back. So typically for these batch preps, I'm using every single eye of the stove. And if you can imagine with the smaller eyes, that will kind of dictate what size pot or pan you can be cooking with at the same time. So sometimes depending on whatever I'm cooking, so example, if I have a large pot of boiling eggs, my quinoa, my large pan for my green beans and whatever else, my meat, and I still have some other things to cook, I will have to kind of swap things out, let things cool while something else goes onto an eye. So that's just a kind of a little dance that you'll start to learn how to do if you should decide that you want to take up this method. The other thing is the time. This is a time commitment. It will typically take me about 2 to 3 hours to get through the whole process, sometimes longer, depending on what we're eating. Now, on some weeks, I will just get through the whole prep. I'll just knock it out. I'll have my praise and worship on in the background, and I'll just be knocking out the meal prep. My son, he could be watching TV in the front. He could be helping me. But yeah, I'll just commit that time. Other times I might just multitask, be doing other things, doing the laundry, mowing the lawn, doing other stuff while I'm letting things cook, letting things cool, storing, and going about it that way. So it can be very flexible, but the end result is that I have large portions of food batch prepped. I do not put them into the refrigerator as different meals. I put them in the refrigerator or the freezer in their batched components. So it'll be a big pot of green beans, a big pot of cabbage, etc. in the refrigerator or the freezer. And that way, throughout the rest of the week, I'm just mixing and matching, picking what I want to eat that day. One of the biggest things, and one of the biggest reasons why I started this batch prep method in the first place was because I used to do the meal prep where I had the specific dinner, lunch, breakfast, and by Tuesday or Wednesday, I was getting bored with what I chose that week prior. So this method allows me to mix and match. If I don't want the turkey, I feel like chicken, it's already made. I just have to heat things up. And sure enough, my son enjoys that too. So he'll usually know, of course, he's involved in the whole process. So when we get home on a busy day, say I come from work, go straight to his practice and straight home, it's late, we're both tired and we're all hungry. Instead of ordering pizza, driving through, I know that I have food in the fridge. I just have to heat it up. And then my son gets to tell me, okay, tonight I want chicken, green beans, garbanzo beans, quinoa, whatever. And about a week ago, he's like, I feel like I'm ordering at a restaurant. I was like, great, that's fantastic. As long as you're still in this, we're good. Okay, so those are some of the big housekeeping items. The biggest thing is I know that I'm gonna start prepping some of these foods while I'm chatting with you. I've also prepped my meat and washed my vegetables all beforehand just to help me with reducing time. Also for sanitary purposes, I didn't want to be handling meat while on this stream. Okay, so what I do, as you can see, maybe I have I get everything set out. I have my storage containers here, my oven's preheated, I have my pots and pans out, my Instant Pots over there, my oven sheets are ready to go. They have the parchment paper already lined up. I have all my ingredients out here. My vegetables I'm going to be chopping, the frozen food. I just pull it all out once I'm ready to start cooking. For now, I'm going to go ahead and put these boiled eggs back in the fridge because they're done. I just labeled them boiled because we do have another one similar to this that's not boiled. So that would not be a fun thing to experience, cracking a raw egg thinking it's boiled. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the chopping. Today, all I have to do is chop my peppers, my bell peppers. Oftentimes I'll have onions, cucumbers, but this prep, we're keeping it kind of simple here. Now I have my favorite device here, my chopper, which makes chopping and dicing and slicing very, very handy. I don't know if anyone of you have ever used one of those, but they're so nice. So you'll get to see me using it in real time. All right, so just gonna go ahead and start this process. These peppers I'm gonna be using for my green beans and the turkey. So they will be cooked. All right. The chopper can be a little noisy, so I apologize. Same for the chopping of the knife on the metal board. Okay, let's make sure. So this just has, if you've never seen one of these, it just has like the razors here in the size and the shape that you desire. And then it all transfers into this little tray here. Every now and then I'll forget to put this little tray in and I'm just slicing vegetables onto the counter. All right, but as you can see, it definitely quickens the process. I recommend if you do any meal prep, be it batch prep or just meal prep in general, you find your tools that help make the process go a little bit quicker. So it definitely matters. All right. Okay, and so another caveat I should say when it comes to the batch prep is it does require quite a bit of storage all at once. So you have to be mindful of your storage containers, but also your refrigerator capacity. So I usually will have a nice clean out of their fridge prior to a meal prep because I know it's about to get full of containers. And then as you start to determine and see like what foods you're cooking, most often you'll get to see what size containers you typically need. You'll also want freezer storage bags if you are like me and like to prep for longer than 4 to 5 days. Because if you're being safe and following safe food storage practices, you're going to realize that if you cook too much, in order to avoid food waste, you'll want to freeze some of the food first. So you want to freeze it the same day, let it cool, and then freeze it the same day that you make it if you notice that you've made too much or just want to have stuff frozen for later. Okay, and I'm learning that it's interesting trying to cook and talk at the same time. All right. Just gonna get some of these seeds off. Okay, so again, I think where I was leaving off in the conversation is I think a lot of us, we have good intentions for our health, and we even know a lot of the things that we, quote, should be doing, things that we intend to be doing. So it's not for a lack of knowledge, we know, but there's this gap between knowing and doing. And part of that is, you have these good intentions, you do a full-on grocery haul, you go to the store, you buy all the good stuff, all the healthy foods. You may even clear out your pantry of all the unhealthy junk food, quote, junk food. But when it comes to actually doing the thing, actually eating those meals, preparing those meals, it's a challenge. We're all I feel we're all primarily so busy. And when it actually comes down to trying to cook home cooked meals every single day on a busy schedule, and if you have kids, excuse me, I'm just gonna grab a container. You know, if you have kids, if you're multiple kids or they're active in sports, you work or you stay at home, working in the home, it gets really busy and it can be very challenging to have the energy and the bandwidth to form these and to maintain these healthy habits that you have good every intention on doing or having. So finding shortcuts or hacks, however you want to call it, that help you stay consistent is so important. And for me, this batch prep method has really been a game changer, so to speak. I know that term is overused, but it really has helped me stay consistent, particularly on those weeks where it's just so busy. One moment, I'm just gonna clear this garbage. And okay. So now that I have my peppers chopped, I'm gonna actually start with the green beans and the turkey because that's where I'm gonna be cooking, using these peppers for. Okay. And then I just like to oil my pan with this avocado spray that I get mine from Costco. Okay, and again, remember, not a chef here, okay? So the purpose of this is not for me to teach you how to cook. In fact, I will take some pointers if you have them. Just be nice. All right, I'm gonna grab the meats that's already prepared from the fridge. All right, and at the same time, I'm actually gonna start boiling the fluid for the quinoa, which I use broth, chicken broth, instead of water for the quinoa. I know a lot of people say they don't like quinoa. I think the first time I had it, I didn't like it either, but I learned that it really does take on the flavor of whatever you cook it in. So I tend to season it as I'm cooking, and also using broth instead of water also helps with the taste. And yes, my son loves quinoa, which can be surprising for most. All right, so I just used a 2-to-1 ratio of liquid to quinoa. So I'm using 2 cups of the quinoa, so this would be 4 cups of broth. All right, and then if you are one of the ones who do meal preps or batch preps, what day of the week do you typically tend to do your preps? Are you a Sunday batch prep, meal prep person, Monday meal prep? I'm curious. Uh-oh, probably should have been counting instead of talking. I think that's 3. Yeah, 32 ounces here. Cool. All right. Okay, so I just let that boil and then add the quinoa. For now, I'm gonna go ahead and get my peppers going for the green beans and the turkey. Need it too hot here. All right, and then anything left over, I'll usually just put in the fridge and use it for our eggs in the morning. All right, so this is a time where I would put in my broccoli because that's going in the oven. My oven is preheated. Okay, and I use frozen. Again, I try to take like shortcuts whenever I can, so frozen instead of fresh. Canned beans instead of raw beans make the process much easier for me. And I actually think I'm gonna get one more bag of broccoli on this tray. I will usually do my shopping for all my groceries a couple days to a day before, or sometimes same day. Just depends on the schedule. Okay, and for seasoning today, I will usually chop up onions, but today I'm not. So I'm going to be using onion powder, garlic powder, and then this 21 seasoning that I get from Trader Joe's. Absolutely love this stuff. I put it on almost everything. And of course, salt. My son can't really do spicy, so I usually spice my own individual meals once it's plated if I'm adding heat. Okay, so my frozen green beans are here. That's going in now. And my ground turkey is going to be going in next. Ground turkey, I already seasoned this. I'm sure I'll season it a little bit more though as it's cooking. Okay. Yeah, you will rack up some dishes as as this process goes. I try to clean as I go, but I don't think I'll be doing much of that while we're on, if I'm being honest. And this is where I mentioned how the spacing of your stove matters. Like, for example, I have a large eye here, a medium eye here, and a large eye here. And my quinoa pot back here is also large. So that all plays into this. One day I might get a bigger stove to make my batch preps a little easier. But until then, I just work with what I got. Okay, just gonna move this over. All right, so this is gonna be for the meat. Green beans. Let's see, this is a little, okay, that's good. And the salt. Salt's at the meat, so I'm just gonna salt the green beans. All right, let that go on. And once the broth is boiling, I'll add in the quinoa and then put it on to simmer until it's done. It's almost there. Let's see if I can probably turn that one up as high as it can go. Okay, so now I have my broccoli that needs to go in the oven. Just gonna give it some salt. This probably looks like a lot of salt, but it's not. And actually, I won't put that on now. Okay, so that's gonna go in. gonna put a little timer in here because I do be forgetting how long things are on. Okay, that's on. Now I'm going to get the cabbage ready. Just cut it up, and then again, I'm gonna be cooking that off camera for the reason that I mentioned, the pressure with the Instapot. When it comes to the cabbage, I love cabbage with smoked turkey tail, but you know, I just had some recently at a soccer event. It had the smoked turkey tail. So I figured since I kind of recently had some, which actually put me in the mood to make my own cabbage, but I figured since I did have cabbage with the turkey tail, I should not do it again this time around just because of the processing. So I'll be using some smoked paprika in my cabbage to kind of make up for that smoked taste that I'll be missing out on without the turkey tail. All right. I'm curious in the chat. I know I can't look at the chat right now, so I do apologize, but I'm curious, what is your biggest challenge or biggest barrier struggle when it comes to consistent, healthy nutrition? Like, is it that you feel like you don't know what to eat? Is it that it's too busy to consistently eat healthy foods? Like, do you tend to opt more for, or find yourself, I should say, in the drive-through or ordering out, ordering in because of the challenge of consistently doing home cooked? I know that was a barrier, a huge barrier for me, especially during my programs. I rinse these briefly, but I'm gonna give them a nice soak once they're all sliced up so you can really get into the leaves. Yeah, I mean, when I was in my degree programs, it was very challenging. As much as I wanted to, as much as I knew I needed to be eating healthier, it was so hard. Not to mention like just the stress, the test anxiety, and I was also working full time and full time solo parenting. So there was just a lot to juggle. And again, that's where these little shortcuts or hacks were born. They're born out of a real necessity. So I'm just curious because this channel, my intention for this channel is to be as helpful as I can be. I want to know where you're struggling or where you're having challenges. If it is from an educational perspective, I'm happy to continue producing more content on the educational content. But oftentimes I find that I'm really, especially in clinic, helping people find ways to incorporate these habits into their lives. Because oftentimes that's the part where the real struggle comes into play, implementing. And again, it's not for a lack of wanting or care. It's just like, how do you do it all? We're all so busy. All right, this is almost done. In the Instapot, this will really be quick. Once it gets the pressure, I don't like the way that leaf looks. Take that one off. Really like 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how soft you like your cabbage. This will make quite a bit of cabbage for us. I mean, it's just my son and I, so I do tend to freeze nearly half of it. Whew, clearly I need to sharpen my knives too. My goodness. Okay. Because I'm doing this live stream, my son isn't down here helping me, but he typically does come and join me. He'll do, the washing or he's to that point now where he can help me with the cutting and the cooking, depending on what it is. Apologies, my fan does auto turn on when the range gets to a certain temperature. So hopefully it's not messing with the audio too much. Okay. And again, don't be shy in the comments. Please let me know how I can best serve you all. I truly appreciate the support and the feedback and the way you have already shared where your challenges are. Just how grateful you've been for the content that I've produced up to this point. I truly take that to heart, and I want to continue being a source or a resource for you to help you through this because, again, I know how hard it is, and even as a healthcare provider, it's hard for me too. You know, and I try to practice what I preach, so to speak, with my patients. I try to live it out too. And I'm also just a busy human being. My son is in sports. I guess I'm technically officially a soccer mom, which has been interesting because I've never played soccer ever, but I've grown to love the sport. Truly, it's a wonderful sport. But anyway, that definitely has us busy. You know, he's in year-round sports now, and it's wonderful seeing him like progress in his skill set and the bonding of the teams and the parents, you know, making new friends. It's been pretty cool. But anyway, the busyness really makes it hard to try to stick to consistency when it comes to nutrition. There's a lot of busy or late nights. Got a little bit of the core in some of these. A lot of late nights, late practices, late games, tournaments that, boy, you're on the road, driving, traveling, and trying to stay consistent. You know, of course, I give him leeway, I give myself leeway and grace. I'm not trying to, it's not about perfection, but it's mostly about what we do most of the time and really trying to create consistency for him, but also for me. So I'm here to help share what I find helpful for myself and for those who I speak with. Oh, okay, I kind of like halfway missed, so I made myself a big mess. All right, let me stir. Okay. Okay, so the broth is boiling now. I can put that to simmer and put the quinoa in. I've already rinsed off the quinoa. Don't forget to rinse your quinoa. Ooh, because boy, first when you do rinse it, you'll see what comes off of it. But second, yeah, rinse your quinoa. It'll taste much better as well. That was the second part of that. Okay, so this is going in. Just over 2 cups worth. All right. And I should have turned that off. Did I turn it off? I did. Should go on simmer now. But then I also, on top of cooking the quinoa in broth, I also will season my quinoa. And again, 21 seasoning from Trader Joe's. Again, I put this on pretty much everything. And it's gonna go in the quinoa. And then because we probably won't still be on by the time it's done. Once my quinoa is done, I will then use, here, one second. What I got, ladle here, hang on. Wrong. Stir this up. I got meat over here, vegetables here. Okay. Oh yeah, this needs some attention. I don't know how, I know there's like some people online who will do cooking videos and live cooking. More power to them. This is rough. Or it's tough, I should say. Trying to chat while you're cooking. Oh my goodness. I barely do a good job when I'm not talking to anybody. But I wanted to honor your request. So you guys, let me know. If this is something that you want to see more of, let me know and I'll just hone in on my process. But if you're like, could take that or leave it. So could I. But just let me know what you wanna see, okay? All right, now that the quinoa just needs to simmer, I'm actually gonna transfer it over to this eye because it's taking up way too much room. No, I know what I'll do. I'm gonna swap. This is what I should have done in the first place. I'm just gonna swap these two. And there we go. Okay, that's better. Give it more room. Turn that back up a little bit. Okay. Swap this up now. All right, so the broccoli's got 4 more minutes. Let me just go ahead and start rinsing this. I'll do it later since it puts me off camera. Okay, so what this looks like, 1 second, I'm just gonna clean my space and we can chat for a little bit. Okay, so yeah, what this looks like is at the end of this, if you've seen any of my other batch preps, I come out with containers of batches of ingredients, meal items, versus containers full of actual meals composed, like put together. So for example, I'm not gonna have a container, 1 second. This is harder than you would think. Okay, so I know for traditional meal preps, you might think you'll have your breakfast, lunch, dinners, everything in those meals in your containers in your refrigerator. At the end of this, I'm not gonna come out with that. I'm gonna have containers of batches of items. So a big bowl of quinoa, green beans, Brussels sprouts, or actually, excuse me, broccoli in this case, turkey, ground turkey, and chicken. And throughout the week, I'm just gonna decide on a Monday, you know, today I want turkey with my beans and my broccoli. And that's what I'll have. And tomorrow, the next day I might want something different. I might want the drumsticks. I might want the cabbage, drumsticks, and beans or quinoa. I get to choose, my son gets to choose. There's variety. But the biggest thing is that these foods, all the prep I'm doing once. I'm doing it all now. For the rest of the week, I'm mixing and matching and I'm heating up. I'm not in my kitchen cooking full-on meals 5 days out of the week. It truly has been game-changing for us. Okay, so that's what this is. And the other thing that I didn't show you was the beans. Again, I use canned beans. So 1 moment, I'll grab it for you. And for me, I didn't finish the whole process. Okay, so I have our garbanzo beans and our black beans. They've already been rinsed and drained. I'm just gonna add some seasoning to it. And sometimes I'll cook it, like I'll warm it up on the stove, but I found that that's kind of unnecessary and just takes up an eye that I don't need. So I drain it so that it's ready throughout the week. It's already been drained and seasoned. All I have to do is warm it up if that's how I want to have it. Or sometimes I'll eat them like in a salad, like a bean salad, the base for a salad. And I'll eat it cold in that regard, or in that instance. So just some onion powder here for this one. Basically the same seasoning for each one. My meals are boring, guys. I found what works for us. My son eats all of these foods. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna rock the boat. Again, during the seasons, we will change things up. But for the most part, we eat pretty similar each week. You know, we'll change up our meat proteins. We'll sometimes do more salmon or shrimp or steak. I really like steak. So there's just a few things that we swap out throughout the week. Or the weeks, I should say. Now, what I didn't mention was I do have an example of this batch prep method, the workbook, that is located in the description box. And I might have also put it in like a comment. But you can get an example of a typical week of batch prep in that workbook. And it walks you through this process for the most part. I know in my videos, I typically speed all of this up. Thank you. Yes, simplicity is the name of the game for me, right? Because if you're like me, which most people I feel these days are, we're all so busy. If we can make it simple and healthy, it's something that you don't have to keep on thinking about and recreating. I mean, you don't have to. I know some people Some people like the variety. Like they wouldn't like this method because one, it's leftovers. You have to be okay with leftovers. And two, it's not very creative. During the fall, I will do like more soups because I do like soups in my Instapot or my crock pot. That's my broccoli. Let me check that so I don't burn it. One moment. I prayed that I wouldn't burn or cut anything of my fingers during this batch prep. Oh yeah, that needs more time. So I'm just gonna flip some of these. Wow, it's like barely. That leaves a lot more time. Okay. And that's meat and there's veggies. Okay. I like cooking with stainless steel, but I've burned myself many a times trying to lift these lids. And as far as the turkey, I'm using 93% lean turkey. I often will do ground beef too, but we have been doing a lot of ground beef lately. So, and I try to get the ground beef as lean as I can. Sometimes I just can't find it in our usual store, so I get what they have. But this time around, we're using ground turkey, so it's a bit leaner. And then we typically will always have quinoa as our base. I tend to opt for high protein, high fiber meal choices to have readily available. And with this being 93% lean, I'm not gonna have much of a need to strain this off, which is nice. Because I wouldn't enjoy doing that live. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to have all this in the sink. Okay. All right, so again, this makes it easier for us to have these healthy whole food items that are high protein, high fiber. Now, this does not mean that this is the only thing we eat all week, okay? This is the majority of what we eat all week. This is our dinners. We do dessert. Typically, we'll do maybe like a dessert every other night. And I personally have a weakness for ice cream. That's one of my biggest vices is ice cream. So even for myself, I have to try to exercise restraint. But yeah, I'm not trying to even act as if we don't eat anything different than this, but this is the majority of our meals. I would say 80% of the time, this is what we're eating. So one of the biggest things, especially if you're a parent on here listening, I know it can be so hard to help with your kids' nutrition, especially if they are school age and they're participating in school meal programs. The options that they have, especially if they eat breakfast and lunch there, or the options are not always the most nutritious for them. And oftentimes they're void of quality protein, quality fats too, and fiber. So the most control that we have is what we give them in our homes, what's available at home. So I try to make that a source of healthy meal options for him and myself, right? Like I want to be healthy too, and I'm mindful of his health. So we're in this together. But that's why I really focus in on making sure that we have high quality protein, fiber, healthy fats, nutritious food options for him to be able to grab and go, and for me to be able to grab and go easily. Reducing the friction to eating healthy more consistently is the name of the game. Okay, so this is pretty much done. I'm gonna go put it back in the fridge, and I'll just heat this up if we need to, or eat it cold like I mentioned, but it's in the fridge. Okay, and then I might even do a different video of this because for me, for my breakfast, typically and him, we are very boring. Eggs, avocado, and frozen blueberries are like our jam. And the eggs can be any style, scrambled, boiled, fried, whatever. We'll eat it. So for him in the mornings, that's typically our breakfast. Sometimes for me, for either breakfast or if I'm working from home, or just if I want a snack, what I'll also do, if I really want a high protein breakfast, I'll add cottage cheese to my breakfast. So two hard-boiled eggs and some cottage cheese, and I will usually top the cottage cheese with walnuts and frozen blueberries, and I'll even do like fresh cut veggies when it's safe to do so. That'll be a breakfast, and that's a high protein breakfast. If you don't like cottage cheese, I understand, but boy, I love it because it really does pack a powerful, I mean, you can really get a lot of protein in that cottage cheese. And then let's see, how are we doing on time? Okay, 2:50-ish, okay. And then for my son's lunch, for my lunch, I'll typically do one of those options. I'll still mix and match. Basically what I have for dinner, I'll have for lunch, maybe a different variety. So I might have chicken for lunch and then turkey in this case for dinner. But my son, of course, doesn't have access to a microwave. And yeah, so it's a little bit different for his lunches when he's at school or in this case, summer camp. I like these, I get these protein chicken bites from Costco. Here we go. He'll do these. I don't know if you've ever seen these, but they're the chicken bites that you can get at Costco. It comes in like a pill pack of, I think, 10 or something to that nature. He'll pack that. He'll pack his fruit. He'll pack his cheese. He'll usually do some chips. We'll go for some type of avocado oil, which I know is now controversial too. The avocado oil chips. And that's usually what he'll eat, or like some dried fruit option. And then we have, for dessert for him, he'll either have ice cream or like, what are they, Melona bars. You can get those at Costco too. As you can see, Costco is our friend. But I say that to say that we don't eat, it's not that we only eat these things, right? So when for example, this weekend, we had a tournament. He had a soccer tournament on Friday and Saturday. On Friday and Saturday. Friday, we were getting home late, so we ate something quick. We actually went to a drive-thru. It's not my favorite thing to do, and I really try to limit it, but in that case, it was really challenging to not do that. And then Saturday, the next day, the team, they had 2 games. So after they had an early afternoon game and then an early evening game. And between the games, they ate as a team. They went to a pizza place. And I opted for, a healthier option on the menu that I could find, which is also something that is a good tool to use. It's just making choices with making the best choice with the options that you're given. So that's what I did. But I'm saying all that to say is that we're not on a strict eating pattern. But we, most of the time, try to eat in a way that is conducive to our metabolic health. Again, as a nurse practitioner and specifically a diabetes educator and working in endocrinology, I take care of a lot of people with metabolic dysfunction. And I have a very close understanding of the significance that healthy nutrition plays in maintaining our metabolic health. And at the same time, I understand that it's challenging to do so consistently, especially in a social environment where the unhealthy choice or the foods that are the foods that are nutrient deficient are more in abundance and more easily accessible. So I recognize that you are, and that we have to go against the grain if we want to do the quote right thing for our health and for our family's health. It does take more intentionality. It does take more focus. It does take more time in some ways or another, but it's absolutely worth it. And I'm here to support you through that consistent fight and struggle for some to do that as best I can. So again, please put in the comments how I can help and best support you through that. Okay, so at this point, we're kind of hitting our 60-minute mark. And what we have right now is the green beans are almost done. The quinoa is almost done. Let me just give it some. Oh yeah, actually the green beans are done. Nice. Excellent. And of course, it depends on how firm you like your veggies. I personally don't mind them being a little on the soft end, but those are definitely done. So, okay, and the quinoa. I'm just gonna focus here so I don't burn myself, y'all. Sorry for the silence. Okay, this is good. All right. That is done too. Actually, this is just simmer a little bit. It's kind of a little high. All right, so it's pretty, I don't think you can appreciate here yet, but it's pretty much done here. It's nice and fluffy, not too mushy. Once you get that water or liquid to quinoa ratio down, you're good. Just rinse and repeat each time you cook it. Okay, so what's left for me after this live is I'm going to fire up the grill. My grill is very easy. It's a pellet grill. It's a Weber Searwood, but it cooks things quickly, efficiently, and there's a little app that tells me that things are up to temperature. So it's very low maintenance. I'm not being a, what do you call it, a grill master. Not taming any fires. And then I'm going to put, once I clean the cabbage, I'll put that in the Instant Pot. It's really going to take just, once it gets up to pressure, 15 minutes at the most to actually cook. And then I will be letting it cool. So once all the food is cooked, I'll typically set it out. Again, let it cool off before putting things in the refrigerator. Most of these food items can keep for 3 to 4 or 5 days in the refrigerator before you'd want to toss it. You want to eat it by then, just based on safe food handling and storage guidelines. So if in the beginning, so on the day of your meal prep, once your food is cooled off, if you're not sure you're going to finish it within that 3-day mark, 3 to 4 day mark, I would portion off some of it to go in the freezer, things that are more freezer friendly. Like my cabbage, I'll be able to put some of that in the freezer. The beans, things like that, or the beans and the green beans, I'll be able to put in the freezer and they should keep decently well. When you put them in the freezer, it's important to put the date and what it is. Because sometimes when they freeze, things can look a little bit different than what they look like going into the bag. And I would also be mindful of the portion. So like get the smaller freezer bags versus the large freezer bags so that like the night before, if you want to dip into it, the night before put that freezer bag in the refrigerator to thaw, but in the portion that you'd want. Because you wouldn't then be able to refreeze it just for safe, again, food handling and storage practices. So those are just some things that have come up during this meal prep process that I figure might be helpful. Okay, so I think I'm going to end things here. But again, if this was enjoyable to you, or if you have some tips to make this better experience for you, please let me know in the comments. Again, just be nice, but I'm really open to suggestion because again, I really want this channel to be for you. That's why I'm doing this in the first place, is you said it's what you wanted, but help me make it better for you if you want to see things done in a different way. Or if there's any topics that you want me to talk about, please let me know. Of course, I have some things lined up and in a can to be going out here soon. If you want to see more of this process sped through, then you can check out my meal prep playlist where you can see some of these preps gone through full time and you can see what everything looks like once it's all done. You see one of my meal preps, you're kind of seeing them all. It's just a variety of some changes as far as like what I swap things out with. But again, I really appreciate you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me right now. Is that Norma? Oh, Norma, hi. Oh my gosh, you're wonderful. I really appreciate your support. I really, really, truly do. But okay, please don't be shy in the comments. Just be nice again. And I will see you in the next one.